Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spell Connection with another installment of Mutant Monday. And this time we'll be looking at parts 14, 15, and 16 of Ten of Swords. Where we left off at in part 13 in Marauders number 14, Wolverine had apparently rushed and stabbed Saturnine through over as dinner was beginning. And so we begin part 14 in Marauders number 15. I gotta say, it's actually really cool that they did two issues of Marauders back to back to basically tell the story of dinner. So we begin with two quotes. One from Sun Tzu from his from the work Art of War. Every battle is won or lost before it is ever fought. The other is accredited to the White Sword of the Celestial Spire. You cannot be humbled in war if you never taste death. We have a brief prose section. After Logan murdered Saturnine in her own home, chaos erupted. A fierce three-way battle between the forces of Saturnine, Krakoa, and Araco sent the Starlight Citadel plummeting from the clouds. Magic managed to teleport the Krakoans home as the cacophony of the palace shattering below reverberated in their ears. With the external gate closed, arguments began anew in the quiet castle about what, if anything, was owed to Otherworld. With a short row as the external gate erupted with the full fury of battle-hardened Iraqi warriors. They had already brought Amenth to heal, and now the campaign for Earth had commenced on Krakoa. For 3 days and nights, the mutants waged war upon each other. The Iraqi were reinforced constantly from the gate, but the Krakoans did not have their number. Tens of thousands of mutants were slaughtered before a call for help was made. A telepathic mind bomb was hauled through the gate and detonated. Hundreds of mutants' higher brain functions were erased from their brains, including Moira X and her no place. Krakoa issued a distress call that was answered by Earth's mightiest heroes, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the hosts of Asgard, who all fought and lost. The mountains of corpses from the waters around Krakoa red, and as the island burned alive, one mutant witnessed the end of the dream. One mutant watched as Apocalypse was decapitated, drawn, and quartered. The Wolverine saw it all with deathless eyes. And we then see New York, burnt rubble, as Doctor Strange's flaming body is thrown out of the attic window of the Sanctum Sanctorum. And we see that Wolverine is once again crucified to an X, much like the Reavers did to him in the Outback. As a shadowed figure approaches and asks what the final fate of Krakoa's deathless man is. And this shadowed figure then stabs Logan and reveals herself to be none other than Saturnine, who explains that stabbing is kind of fun, actually. But she tells Logan he will never wear a crown, she knows that he cares deeply for his people. So, despite the harm that he intended her, she is freely giving him this gift, the glimpse of the future, if he fails his people. And he comes back to in the dining room, having never actually stabbed Saturnine. And Cypher reaches over and grabs part of his sushi appetizer, which had been poisoned previously by Death, who was seated next to Wolverine. Wolverine catches the smell of the poison, but it's too late to prevent Doug from eating. He begins to asphyxiate when Iska the Unbeaten strides over, and opens his airway. The White Sword is... To say the White Sword is displeased with his fellow Iraqi combatant is putting it lightly. Apparently, though, it was supposed to be Wolverine that got poisoned, not the boy. Death explains that there's... not death, war. War, not death. War explains that there's far too much at stake to let their fates be decided by the crossing of swords, and Wolverine will be their great impediment. The White Sword approaches Cypher, however, proclaiming poison to be the weapon of the Craven, and saying that he will not be a party to cowardice. Further adding, there's a reason the tower never fell. As the White Sword heals Cypher. And he simply says, and the White Sword claims that Cypher is whole and released from any obligation to him. While all this is going on, Apocalypse and Annihilation sit across the table from one another. Apocalypse breaking the silence by stating that he sees that Annihilation did well with the children. She claimed that she did her best. Brian Braddock has a question to ask of Saturnine, stating that the Iraqi had violated the invitation and sought to win by cheating. So he would request that Saturnine set aside the Iraqi claim and declare Krakoa the winner by forfeit and send them on their way. And Saturnine actually states there is a fairness in the suggestion, and she would move to vacate their claim. However, the Krakoans also sought to commit murder this evening. Murder of her. So things will go as planned. War retakes her seat and actually tells Logan that she is impressed. She wouldn't have thought to. She wouldn't have even thought to attack the Majestrix. Wolverine, while drinking, somebody says that he just wants to get his people home safe. And War explains that, yep, that's the singer's desire of every brave soldier. The next course is then served. It is said to be scarabs stuffed with the hearts of Pollinate from the rivers of Wahhabe, cooked to perfection in a reduction of the greatest wines from Stebelith. Death is distraught at being served a scarab, removes his mask, stares at the server, who then promptly dies. While this was going on, however, Logan took Death's serving and ate it himself. Adding, can't let food go to waste. Saturnine further suggests to Brian Braddock, however, that some accommodation can be made if Brian were to lift the right sword and reclaim the mantle he was destined for. But he simply states that that is his past, and he trusts that she won't go to bits. She claims that she won't, however. And then finally, the main course is revealed. The horned beast, is revealed to be unicorns. The White Sword explains that he is beyond hunger and thus never eats, but for a unicorn, he'll make an exception. Storm is completely against the idea. Logan, more than happy to chow down. This claims the meat's damn good. Summoner comments to the White Sword about what happened with Cypher, and say that he had never seen the White Sword snatch a soul from death and fail to conscript them into his army. The White Sword then retorts with he's never been asked to carry the shame of a poisoning at a parley. With Summer saying that Cypher doesn't know how lucky he is. Though, the White Sword states that lifting his sword is a small price for eternal life. Though Summoner states that he hasn't planned to die for a long time, but only intends to do so once. Gorgon, however, finds listening to others' plan for their eventual deaths to be one of the things that truly bores him. And he then asks the White Sword, could the White Sword resurrect himself? And apparently the White Sword has no idea and we'll never know. Cable, who's seated next to Apocalypse, tries to make small talk with Apocalypse and Annihilation, saying that this must be weird for them. Though Apocalypse simply states that weird is a human word, used to describe a reality that human minds fail to grasp. He'll understand in time when he has more experience. Over dessert, Cable talks with Iska a little bit. He's apparently quite impressed with the fact that she is apparently her powers, she can't be beaten. And he asks if she can show him. But she says that he will witness her power tomorrow. But Magic pops in saying he thought that since Magic pops in saying that she thought they were all going to be dead tomorrow, let's see Iska go now. She's got a few ideas. Pin the tail on Pog, then Logan. Cutting through a bunch of wine glasses as well as the tip of Cable's thumb. And something akin to 3-card Monty. And apparently she's never lost at anything. So Magic says, hey, guess what number I'm thinking of? It's because somebody says that Magic's not thinking of a number, which is true. And Magic then says, imagine what would happen if Iska fought Domino. But Cable says he's not looking forward to fighting Iska. To which Iska states that Cable may live to a ripe old age after all. Death and Redroot watched the exchange, with Death stating that their enemies are weak and soft. Redroot says that Death's words ring true on the wind. But Redroot looks at them and wonders. If they had set roots on Krakoa, they would have grown in the sun, much as the mutants did. Much as their opponents did. Death states it's best to set aside such thoughts, not to attach themselves to the weak things. They will be culled come dawn. Logan tells storm of the vision that Saturnine gave him. And then Saturnine declares who the first fight will be between on the morrow. Captain Britain and Iska the Unbeaten. And that is where the issue ends. We also got an odds listing, the opening line, odds with rival calculated by Jim Jaspers of the Crooked Market. Apparently, Annihilation's odds of survival are 3 to 1. Apocalypse is 5 to 1. Bay is 10 to 1. Cable is 100 to 1. Captain Avalon is 30 to 1. Captain Britain is 30 to 1. Cypher is 5,000 to 1. Death is 50 to 1. Gorgon is 20 to 1. Iska the Unbeaten is 2 to 1. Magic is 50 to 1. Pog 20 to 1. Red Root 100 to 1. Solemn 40 to 1. Storm 50 to 1. Summoner 40 to 1. The White Sword 6 to 1. War 50 to 1. And 20 to 1. I will admit, I was kind of surprised that we didn't get as much of a focus in the first half on the Sword Bearers of Morocco as we did the Sword Bearers of Krakoa. But now that they're here, it is neat to see what's going on, what is going on with them. Which brings us to part 15 in Excalibur number 14. We begin with a quote from Apocalypse. Find the most fearsome challenger in all of creation and make her your wife. Lie down at night beside your greatest threat. Make love to your fate. One, I like it. I really like it. And two, I will say, it sounds very much not like something Apocalypse would say. But at the same time, it kind of does. So, you know. Anyway, so Captain Britain telepathically contacts Jubilee, who is still waiting with the healing Shogo out in the Forgiven Forest, the base camp of the Priestesses of the Green. Kind of say, hey, here's what's going on. However, Iska comes to see Captain Britain. Iska knows of the card that Betsy was given, the Nine of Swords, knows it to be an ill omen, claiming it's not too late for her to forfeit the duel and avoid certain death. Adding, that if Betsy is going to fight, not to humiliate herself out there. Betsy basically tells Iska to fuck off. Though Iska said she was giving some friendly advice, because Unbeaten isn't just a name. As she walks away, Betsy states that, says, the sword you carry, it's called Mercy, is it? However, Iska states that one is just a name. And so the first match is happening in Avalon. And so is opened up by the sitting king, King Jamie Braddock. And so the duel begins with Betsy actually doing a few things that surprise Iska. Betsy says that, can't lose. That just means that Iska never learned how to fight. Iska swings Mercy, and Betsy moves to block it with the Starlight Sword. And the sword shatters, as does Betsy. And, yeah. Captain Avalon, Brian Braddock, he's fairly certain that Saturn had a hand in that. And the fact that Wolverine is among the ones holding Brian back says something. Apparently. And so the next. But Saturn states that, the first duel is over, so now they have a party to plan for back at the Citadel. Apocalypse said, this party you're threatening is it a challenge? Speak plainly. But she states it'll be a challenge, all right. With the challenge, the involved sword bearers being Cypher and Bay the Blood Moon. We then get a prose section from the Crooked Collar, which is basically the Crooked Market's newspaper of sorts. Captain Breton loses in stunning upset, citizens of Avalon furious. Suddenly, it seems like tournament season is in full swing in the lands around the Starlight Citadel. Fans pack the grounds, flagons in hand, eager to see the first duel of the tourney, the hometown favorite Captain Britain against the challenger Iska the Unbeaten. In a stunning upset, Iska dominated the fight, proving that her moniker is more than merely a name. Captain Britain proved to be both agile and strong, but it was a quick parry that shattered her weapon and brought about her defeat. They are still unsure as to what they witnessed. The grounds were cleared shortly thereafter, and the remains of the captain remanded to Lady Saturnine. Reports were varied, but one thing is for sure: it was shocking. Local duel fan Albert Bogentruffel was quoted as saying there was a shattering like a stained glass window it was. Just one struck her through her sword, and the captain was in pieces. Smithereens, I say. In addition to the heartbreak of their loss, the people of Avalon find themselves with empty pockets after eagerly betting on their favorite. One local winner, King Jamie Braddock himself, who bet on Iska with 100 to 1 odds and finds himself with rich returns. I don't want to have to go over my sister and be out good coin, His Majesty was said to say. I'm dreadfully heartbroken by her disappearance, and if she returns to us, I promise to buy her something very nice. But back with the tournament, some attendants take away with Bay and Cypher. We then get a data. However, it turns out that Cypher is unable to understand anything that Bay the Blood Moon says. Now, keep in mind, Cypher's power is to understand every form of communication there is that he encounters. He wants to understand her, but nothing she says, his powers don't work with her. We then get a data file on Bay the Blood Moon. Araco-born, Bay the Blood Moon was raised a warrior. For the first 50 years of her life, she never spoke a word. On the day she chose to speak, she leveled a mountain with the sound of her voice. Whatever order she tried out was lost, the first words of a long-time commander buried under an avalanche. Her own warriors lost beneath the rubble. Since then, she has not only learned the danger of her gift, but its very practical applications. Bay's doom note lies deep within her broad chest, reverberating in her voice when she speaks. Bay can use the doom note as needed to create loud concussive force blasts, but in addition to its combat utility, the doom note contains other strange properties. Perhaps as a result of being silent for so long, the doom note of Bay's voice inherently ceased to be understood. A strange sort of near-psychic connection that typically makes her understood by all who hear her speak. However, the doom note seems to interact with the power set of the cipher, Douglas Ramsey, in a unique way. While the doom note's desire to be understood can make it heard, her words are not a true language and cannot be translated. Interesting. So apparently, power set-wise, she has the powers of Black Bolt. Very interesting. So, in the Citadel, the attendants are cleaning Doug, and they dressing him, putting a wreath of flowers upon his head. And it makes Magic actually a bit less worried about what's going to happen. Especially since, someone's have a bar, cocktails are being made, and it really does not look like another duel. Kind of looks like they're actually setting up another feast, in fact. Which makes Cypher think maybe perhaps Bay's going to hunt him for sport and serve him. Or he's going to serve her. But she also has they brought in a cake. And that's when it all clicks to Cypher. Bay isn't going to kill him. She's going to marry him. And, well, Ileana offers to give Doug the talk. She's quite happy that he doesn't have to face her in battle. Gorgon thinks that this is absolutely hilarious. And, but Cypher is told to say his vows, and of course, not knowing this is coming, he doesn't have vows prepared, but he wings it. Bay the Blood Moon. This is a little absurd because I don't know anything about you, but you're going to be my wife. So I swear to uphold my vow to you for the duration of this challenge, or whatever. And I'll always be so grateful that we got to do this instead of sword fight, because I'm not ready to die. She also states her vows. When the grim fog of bloodshed overtakes us, the blood is the beacon that returns us to our better selves. Love is a fealty that cannot be broken. I will love you with the force of the wave that crashes the shore and fight for you like the current that swallows the sand. Apocalypse tells Cypher that they are good vows and that Douglas should accept them. And just as they're about to seal the wedding with a kiss, Jubilee shows up on Shogo, and yeah. Storm tries to calm Jubilee and Shogo down. Cypher asks that Bay please not kill Shogo. It's after this that she kisses him. However, Saturnine uses her own magic to take control of Shogo. Storm rescues Jubilee, and Shogo is now in the thrall of Saturnine. The victory point is given to both Krakoa and Arako, as both made good vows and decide that apparently she thought that they'd both come out a pair of losers, but what can she say? A wedding, fireworks, and a very own dragon. She's in a good mood. A point for each. And so at the end of Excalibur number 14, the points between Arako and Krakoa are 2 to 1 in Arako's favor. Which brings us to part 16. In Wolverine number 7. We begin with a quote from Saturnine. So many cards left on the deck, and we've only just begun to deal hands for the game. So we begin with Magic making her way to her fight against Pog, where upon arriving, she informed it is not to be a sword fight, but rather a contest of arms. They're going to arm wrestle. To say that Magic is not pleased with this is putting it lightly, as she knows that she's not going to win an arm wrestling contest against Pog. Next we have Wolverine versus Summoner in Blightspoke, which is described as being a realm of collapsed realities. And so Wolverine and Summoner duke it out, transitioning from reality to reality as they throughout the duel. With Saturnine telepathically telling Wolverine that Wolverine thinks he's fighting Summoner to the death, but it's actually Blightspoke. How long can two unbreakable figures survive the broken domains as the ruined wheel of Blightspoke turns? We then get a write-up on the Battle of Blightspoke. Would you look to the stars to poison them? Would you study a mountain range and guess you could slay with a spear? Or pray for the death of a god? Perhaps only a drunken and weeping fool would fire a shotgun at the moon. There are ways to end even the gigantic, the immeasurable. Just as stars go black and mountains crumble to dust, realities can die. Blightspoke is their cemetery and their hospice. Nothing is unkillable. Certainly not these champions, Wolverine and Summoner. Here they fight each other, even as they fight existence itself, among the celestial and cellular and psychic and dimensional elemental. If this, the fight for Arakko and Krakoa, is a war of worlds, then the warring worlds of Blightspoke are a fitting arena to determine that fate. And what is this that holds the unfathomable together? Not a fabric, but a fluid. The blood of the blighted. It pulses with its own special graven flavor. We get various art styles for the duel, including one that gives it a look reminiscent of Tron. See that one right here. However, the fight ends with Wolverine's Muramasa blade being embedded in Summoner's face, killing Summoner. Wolverine states to Saturnine that, he won, asked her to get him out of Blightspoke. She explains to him that she said it was a fight to the death. Summoner fought to the death. And so the point goes to Arakko. In the Crooked Market, Wolverine is then teleported to the Crooked Market where he meets with Storm, and the two are apparently to have a drinking contest. And so they do. And as their drinking contest is going on, Jim Jaspers steps outside and meets with Death, who gives him a shiny green scarab bauble in exchange for something. Meanwhile, at the Starlight Citadel, Solom and War have been tasked with fighting one another. Solom finds this to be very exciting. The bereaved widow is offered the opportunity to avenge her lost husband. However, Solom does have other plans. And just as Wolverine and Storm are about to kiss in the Crooked Market, Wolverine is teleported to the arena where War and Solom are about to fight. And so, Saturnine draws the Three of Swords, which in this case features the faces of Solom, Wolverine, and War. And War learns that Wolverine just killed her son. Also, the booze that Wolverine was drinking must have been pretty potent because he's still feeling it. And so, War and Wolverine duke it out. His healing factor, Wolverine's healing factor being what largely prevents him from bleeding out or burning to her flaming sword. It's explained that the first to sever an appendage is the winner. But Logan does note that, does make a point of asking just what was in the bottle he was drinking from. And Saturnine explains that just as there's a cost to everything that's crooked market, there is a cost to trying to kill her. And War manages to stick her sword in Wolverine, basically about right here on Wolverine. However, trying to cut his head off. Or okay, I see. She cuts him this way, but hits his spine, and so covered in adamantium. And then Solem cuts off one of War's hands, becoming the victor. We also get a piece of prose, a Solem vow. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Solem offered a sword and Wolverine accepted. How could he not? It's not just any sword, but a Muramasa blade, forged in hell and laced with the soul of the swordsmith himself. He had quested across the world, he had plunged in the pits of hell and burned the flesh from his very bones, all in an effort to secure it. And there it was, the keen edge gleaming red with hellfire. Now the Wolverine could see it clearly. His eyes watered with the sulphurous breath of the beast, and pain electrified him as a great clawed hand crushed his torso. All around him crowded the damned, a legion of ninjas, an extreme fashion of the hand. Their eyes burned like embers, their shinobi shozoku wrapped them like black bandages. He had to say yes. There was no choice but to say yes. Because it wasn't just about his survival, it was about Krakoa's. Solem was declared as his adversary, but so far he had behaved more as an ally. He seemed to have no loyalty to Araka. And here was the offer of the sword, but it came with a price. It was his, but only if Wolverine made a promise. When I call for you, you will fight for me. Could Solem be trusted? He most certainly could not. But Wolverine took the sword, he sealed the promise, consequences be damned. And together they swung their blades and spilled blood that stained their blades black, and the beast howled and promised revenge for the work they had undone. Interesting. However, where's the second point gone? Yes, because of the drinking contest being between two Krakoans, obviously Krakoa gains a point. So at the end of after Solem cuts off War's hand, the points we are currently at Arako with 5 points and Krakoa with 2. Though Saturnine is being kind of a shit by granting Arako points when Summoner died and Wolverine did not. Anyway, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.